information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Health Revolution. We are so glad that you're here. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and no matter how you're tuning in on the live broadcast, or maybe you're catching in on the on-demand replay, remember that whatever funnel you've tuned into, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we are certainly wanting to make sure that you stay connected. In addition to that, this is a quite unique episode with a ton of nuggets to be sharing with all the viewers. So remember that at the bottom of the screen, we do have show notes and important reference information that you are going to want to utilize for your takeaway. So those of you who are brand new to the show, we are so glad that you're here. Remember that our conversation is all about engaging in those conversations, elevating health and wellness, and empowering transformation. It's not just, say, the physical aspect, but in addition to that, it is so many different multifaceted approach that allows us to optimize our life. Sometimes tools that we wouldn't normally recognize that are helpful truly are. And so this is where we have the opportunity to lean in, take notes, and go from there and elevate our life. And so with that, I'm excited about today and our episode, and I'm delighted about today's guest. We get to really tap into music and movement, two areas where we all recognize that it is, sure, there are benefits and we think positive things of these areas, but do we know how those integrated together can allow us to lead an optimal life? So let me tell you a little bit about my guest, Lisa Joy Glassman. She is a musician's performance coach and a dynamic movement expert. So this means that she brings the receipts. She draws upon her experience as a licensed massage therapist, a yoga teacher, and a certified personal trainer to guide students whom she works with to make small shifts in daily practices to heal their bodies and free their minds from pain. So Lisa Joy, she has an expansive of offerings for musicians and fans alike, which means that we're going to get into how she works with musicians and how they are level athletes and those who really embody what it means to embrace music, and shares her tools with many people who benefit from her guidance. And you, the viewer, is going to be able to learn how we get to do that right now. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my guest today, Lisa Joy Glassman. Lisa Joy, how are you?
Thank you so much, Adriana. It's so great to be here on the Health Revolution. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. And then I want our viewers to know that she is tuning in from Jerusalem. So here we are broadcasting from Colorado, and that's how many hours away? What's the time for you right now? How many hours ahead are we?
I'm 9 hours ahead of you into this wonderful day, September 7th here.
Yes, fantastic. So of course, sharing with the viewers your role as a musician's performance coach, dynamic movement expert. You certainly have the experience and expertise to integrate these two. Talk a little bit about what got you to this place and what were some of the ideas, the soundboards of you getting from where you were to where you are today. Share with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have always been into music. I played music growing up. I played the flute and then eventually played the guitar. I also was into dance, and I always was into athletics. So I had these three worlds in my life, along with academics, of course. And as I got older, right, I went and played rugby. And so I played all over the country, traveling to play rugby. And I hung out with elite athletes and trained with them, and then became a coach, a personal trainer, CrossFit coach, and trained them as well. And when I turned to doing massage therapy so that I could include hands-on work with my clients in addition to doing the movement piece. And when I did that, I stopped playing rugby, and I really was missing music in my life. And so just on a personal level, I just started diving into the community and started going to live shows. I got really into the Grateful Dead community and the jam band scene, folk rock, psychedelic rock, for those people who don't know exactly what that means, jam band. And I started going to a lot of live shows, and it became really apparent to me that I wanted to, one, be surrounded by music and be playing music and with other people playing music, but also that I wanted to embrace utilizing music as a healing tool. So I started doing live music yoga collaborations and live music meditation sessions. And I really wanted to do live music massages. And so I started working in the music festival world and working at venues. And I began to work with artists like once, twice a year, maybe three times a year as they would travel through the area in the mid Atlantic. And, it's great. You get to meet, you work with someone I love, just these one time interactions. But then you're like, okay, hey, you're having this ongoing problem. By the way, this is what I've been doing for the past decade. Here's a list of things that you could do, and call me in a month, and we'll give you the next progression. And of course, that didn't really happen. You'd see them again later in the year. And so I wanted to create something where I could help musicians year round. And part of that help was just to explain and help them understand that they're actually athletes, that they're elite athletes, that the energy that it takes to perform on stage, to train your body, to train your mind, to be fit enough in order to play at an elite level was actually really the same as athletics. And in athletics, we have a lot of, like mental fitness that we do, even in camaraderie of like a CrossFit gym or just a gym, right? There's like mental toughness. It's driven and it's part of the approach. And it wasn't often part of the approach in the musical world. And so really just having these passions, but also having the understanding of how the body works. That's how I came to start combining these things together,
And
all of the things.
yes, and and to me, this is fascinating. You and I first talked, and I never really truly gave a deep thought into the impact that music has. Even though, say, many people across the board will decide, what music is. It moves me. I feel, certain songs hit me a certain way, and it evokes a certain feeling. How did you know? Where did you make the connection that music was as powerful for your life and that you wanted to show that to others?
Yeah, I think there's like a two-pronged thing. I was raised in music, like from in utero. There was music always happening. And I can remember in my early childhood, like records being tossed all over the room as my dad was playing DJ, and I knew all these songs. And um, there was just like so much joy in the experience of music and also in the experience of sharing music. And so these are really like core deep memories. I feel very grateful to have experienced that. And then with playing music and being able to come together as a group and create a collective sound and experience. And I played, like I said, the flute growing up all the way from elementary school through high school, concert band and in choir. I really understood the collaborative experience and how like powerful it was and how beautiful it was, and like you said, could evoke emotions. And I think that the community of people who play music and love music really was a saving grace for me multiple times in my life. As a child, an adolescent, I battled issues of depression and sadness. And even though I had a lot of things that were great, and the the community of music and music itself would often help me change how I felt. It listening to music and embracing and allowing those vibrations to move through my body, uh, it does something. It requires your whole being to experience music, and it changes how you feel in the moment. There's an ability to become very present in the presence of sound. And as an adult, like I said, when I went back into music after training and teaching yoga and learning to become a massage therapist, I I really understood the experience of also being in the audience and the experience of live music, not only from creating it, but also from feeling it. And then the collective power and energy of everybody involved, not just the people playing, not just the listener on audio, but the whole experience is so healing. And to me, I just wanted to be a part of that as often as possible. And so, uh, as a way of becoming a part of that, I wanted to, give into the community and to participate with my skills. And my skills were already in movement and understanding how the body and the mind work together, and how to train and how to heal injury. I'm a very good diagnostician, and so I just took what I had in my background, and I was like, how can I help, and how can I be in this more? And then I I keep coming to more and more deep layers of healing. And so this is a way that I can transmit and participate in that on a collective way.
That's incredible. And as we think about music, so these seem for someone like me and for those tuning in, there might be some viewers who think, yeah, I've always thought that music was very powerful. What did the dialogue look like, maybe internally or externally, as you were deciding this was something that you were going to delve into? What were some things what were the conversations like as this was starting to be the path that you were on?
Yeah. Well, interesting. It's like we're going from summer to fall, and that's around the time when this was occurring. And each winter, I always start to like create a plan. Even now, in September, I'll be like, okay, what am I gonna do when it gets cold? Like, how am I gonna stay healthy and feel warm and like battle the cold? And so, a lot of the conversation was around that. And I decided that I could go to live music and dance, which I always love and always did as well, and like get my cardio in. Basically, this was a whole process of just internally, how am I going to deal with winter? How am I going to feel good? And then, I could get my cardio in, and it's like 3 or 4 hours of cardio, and it's also music and it's social. So, for about the price of a class, like going to a yoga class or a gym or something, I could go to a concert. And so once I started doing that and realizing like the layers of uh, positivity that I was experiencing, it just blossomed from there. Like I said, I just wanted it because it felt so good. And I'd wake up and be like, oh, it's 27 degrees outside. But like tonight, I'm gonna go to a show. I'm gonna go to that place that I love, down in DC or in Baltimore. I'm gonna see these people, and I'm gonna get a bunch of hugs and feel great and hear new things. And it's gonna let my brain stop thinking and stop worrying, and I can just be there. Um, yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah, and that's incredible. I love how you paint the picture of there's a level of curiosity with just seeing where this leads, where this takes. And do you think that your just what it was like around you culturally that had an impact, or was it something that you feel like you needed, that you allowed yourself permission to explore what really drew you to have that internal connection?
Hmm. I definitely think that I was seeking something. I mean, part of this was I had played rugby and I had done this for a decade, and that was my, outlet, and it was my social outlet, and it was my adult, like my first real adult social outlet. So as we transition from being children and having, relationships designed and created for us, and then we go into adolescence and we start designing our own, but we're still in a community where there's a lot going on, and then we become adults. Maybe we have a hobby or something, that gets us meeting people. We have a group of friends. So I kind of just, uh, I had friends, but I wasn't doing the thing anymore. And so I definitely wanted some friends as an adult. And luckily, I'm pretty extroverted. But the fact is that I went, and I was hoping that I would meet people who liked the same music, and we could connect that way. But I mean, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of incredible experiences I've had of how open people are in the space of music. When the music is playing and everyone gathers together on purpose, and it's to be present and to listen to music. And maybe it's also to be outside in nature, which is like another helpful factor. It's that it doesn't really matter who you are or what you're about or anything, because every person has just chosen to be there, and that is enough. So the idea of, strangers stopping strangers just to shake their hands, or a quote that I actually had in my high school yearbook, which is, if you smile at me, I will understand, because that is something everybody everywhere does in the same language, which is from Crosby, Stills and Nash. If you know, you know. But that was true. And it was more true than I could have imagined. And so, yes, I was seeking it out, and then it was true. And that, again, that just, fed my desire to want to keep coming back, because it felt great that I actually really barely knew everyone that was there, and yet everyone was so open-hearted and full of love. And it's because of the power of music. It taps us open and allows us to be present. And then it also is, an experience of gathering for the purpose of peace and presence.
Yeah, I love this. Is fascinating to me. And it also feels innovative, because this is not an area where a whole lot of energy is traditionally given, which, of course, life is changing, and we need to start giving emphasis on areas like this. At the point at which you decided that this was going to be part of your professional role that you were going to take, what were some of the breakthroughs that you had as a woman stepping into her own, someone who is naturally curious? Even you mentioned being an extrovert, that this was, you followed that path. There was that level of ambitiousness. What were some of your personal breakthroughs that you thought, aha, this is exactly what I'm going to do. This is my calling, and I'm going to follow it.
That's so great. Where are some of the breakthroughs? I think one, just I've had a couple of iterations. I started my own in-home personal training business in 2008, and that was my first iteration of this business of active potential. And so, as I've gotten different pieces of education and then wanting to reincorporate them, and got something else and wanting to reincorporate something else and to reincorporate and to keep growing, it's like you're starting at the bottom, but you're also not, right? It's, how some people say, oh, I wish I had the knowledge now and I could go back 20 years. It's kind of like that in a way, where it's like, okay, you're an expert, you have all this knowledge, but you've never done this new thing before. And so there's all of these, there's so many moments of just like, okay, well, now I got this opportunity to work this festival. Okay, now I got this opportunity to work this festival with artists. Now I got this opportunity to go meet that artist at the venue. Okay, now I'm connected to the venue, right? So it's like, the first year was just like, it just kept opening up and opening up and opening up. It was like I was going to do festivals, and then I did 10 festivals by the end, and I had done them 10 different ways. And so, I don't know that it was such a breakthrough. It just was that I wanted to be there, and I was like, hey, can I be there this way? And someone was like, yes. Okay, cool. Can I do this way? Okay, yes. And I think I probably also got plenty of no's. I know that I did, but of course, going back in hindsight, and this is something about like being an elite athlete and being an elite performer, right? It was like, of course, we have tons of rejection, tons of no's, tons of failures, tons of like this, but it's like, if you don't dwell there and you just keep following the path and you have your eye on a goal, then, those fall out of your memory, and you can keep building upon the things that are working.
Yes. Very, very, very powerful. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Coming this spring, by popular demand, the second season show on the Tour of Love.
The E360 TV platform is saying we want the Tour of Love.
With winner of the first Global Impactor Award, Tamara Hunter, along with Emmy-winning co-host Skip Thomas.
We are going on tour, on the road. It's time. Love unites, and there is healing through connections. This is a worldwide movement, the Tour of Love.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. So glad that you joined us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. And as you're tuning in, of course, I'm having the incredible opportunity to speak with the ever amazing Lisa Joy Glassman. She is a musician's performance coach and dynamic movement expert. Don't forget, those you tuning in, if you're tuning in to the live broadcast, please feel free to share in the comments. And of course, we've got Lucy, Gail, and Ryan chiming on in and listening intently and representing, helping to represent and be thumbs up for Lisa Joy. So Lisa, we were talking about how you grew into this space where you integrated, you redefined the space of utilizing music and movement to then begin to serve others. And then you touched on how you work with musicians, and you highlighted the analogy of athletes. Let's dive into this. How do you identify with musicians with their work, and what's the groundwork you lay for them to optimize in every way possible?
Awesome. Thanks for that question. And thanks for having me here again. This has really already been just such a great conversation about how presence and how performance and how love and the uniting power of all of these things go together. So to play music and to be a performer, you have to be on point in the moment. And this is where that mental fitness that elite athletes do to train to be in the moment. You know, some athletes do an event like a vault, let's say in gymnastics, that literally is for a few seconds. And there's just all of this training to make those few seconds be as perfect as possible. And with music, this idea of performing, you know, you hit the stage and you hit the, you know, this note, it's the same thing. And when we have team sports, like kind of like a different thing, you know, like I said, I played rugby. It was not only we have to be on, we also were endurance, right? So it was like 80 minutes of doing this, and we got to do it with 15 other people. And also we're coordinating with 15 other people, and we're coordinating with a referee. So kind of having that background with team sports and that team element of being on point repeated and repeated and repeated and repeatedly. It's kind of same with dance. I really could see this in musicians. And then, you know, training to do anything at an elite level is always going to mean that you're going to be optimizing for a particular style of movement or particular actions. And that means that other things might not be as good. So if your right arm has to do some series of things versus your left arm having to do a different series of things, then that might, you know, translate across the body to lead other things to not be quite so in balance or in check. Now, for elite athletes, they are often going to be really focused on their sleep, their nutrition, the environment that they put themselves in physically, and the environment mentally that they keep themselves in. But for like a touring professional musician, the schedule really doesn't even allow for sleep. Most athletics, and there are some that happen at night, but a lot happen during the day. So biorhythmically, you're already in touch. For a musician performing at night, super late at night, traveling overnight, living in a vehicle, always being in motion, these are not usually the best ingredients for optimizing your sleep or your body positioning, even outside of all of that asymmetry that goes in. So it was easy to start to see, right? This is like regular everyday people. We all experience a mixture of this, right? Even using a computer, using a mouse on one side, driving one hand, doing, right? We all are doing things that are asymmetrical, and we all are or aren't thinking about our sleep, our nutrition, our mental environment, our thought process. But for the performer or the person who has to be on at a certain time, then, you know, we have to be on at a certain time. It's go time. You know, that's it. However you show up is how you show up. And so I really wanted to help start, you know, opening the doorway mentally for people to even understand, like, oh, wait, you're right. Like you know, especially for people who want to be the best, who want to play, who want to be at the elite level, but they aren't considering all these things. They're practicing their instrument, but they're not thinking about themselves as the instrument. And so starting to just help you realize, like, yeah, the guitar doesn't play itself. You know, the microphone doesn't amplify nothing, right? It's you, it's your voice, it's your body. That's the key. And helping people realize that. And then, you know, starting to open the door, like the mental environment that you're in, what you tell yourself, what you think about has a lot to do with the output that you have, which, like I said, is much more common in athletics, but is not as common in the music world, although it is coming. And then overall, I think there's an amount of like sadness and degradation and being beaten up and tortured that people accept or even think they're supposed to be a lot of times in the music world in order to write a good song. Like a hard life makes a good song. You know, there's all sorts of phrases about this. There's like, you know, the idea that you should be broke and you should be it's like, who cares about your body? And then you add in like what all of these things do. And so there's a lot of substance use and substance abuse, and that gets idolized. And, you know, people kind of accept all these things that, that don't help you be optimal to perform. And they don't help you increase the longevity of your career.
I
And
love
so I really, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I love your analogy between the two. You know, that there's so many similarities between the preparation and being able to stand and deliver. And you know, it really struck me as how you were describing and unpacking this. You know, we revere athletics, and you know, and we idolize, or you know, we put that emphasis on athletics as in this is positive, and then the arts is something that doesn't necessarily have that the same level of accolades. Can you speak about that and how hopefully we're closing the gaps on something like this, or what the trend is today?
I'm trying to, you know, really pinpoint exactly what you mean in terms of what do you mean by accolades? Can you
So,
just say a little bit more?
yes. So when we think of athletics and teams, and you know, the emphasis we put on team sports, the athlete, the you know, the essence of winning, what it equates to, and so then the preparation behind that, very much the same as what you're describing that musicians that they go through. And so here we are putting a spotlight on the behind the scenes for musicians, and they represent the arts. And so then, but the two are maybe are likely not viewed in the same in the same level of accolades, or you know, the overall societal attention that goes to that. Can you talk about the differences between the two, and where we're starting to close the gap, where it's not so much of a difference?
Yeah. Well, I think it was really great when you used the word winning, because I think that in sport, there is measured quantitative data that goes along with results. And in a music business, of course, there could be results, quantitative data, like, are you selling tickets? Are you selling songs? Are you making revenue? But you know, when you go out and you go to a competition or you go on the field, it's like someone wins. But when you go out and you perform, you got to be on point, right? You got to get there, all that preparation, you know, it's qualitative. It's like, did we feel like we won? Did the audience vibe? Like, there's so many other factors that aren't like we scored 87 points and the other people scored 81 and we won. And then the people who scored 81 were like, hey, we still did a great job because we did all of this, right? We did all these accomplishments. And I think, and maybe this is different in classical settings, maybe where there's a little bit more scored performance, but I think for music, it's a little bit more qualitative. And so it's a little bit more feeling. It's a sense of it. It's not as easy to measure. And in athleticism, we can use that data and like measure our progress. This also happens in business, right? We can use that and measure our progress, and then we can train our mind around how to think about it or how to forget about it or how to like move forward. So, but in music, the mind isn't as trained, and it's not, we're not talking about training the mind. So then the thoughts can go everywhere, right? And so you could feel really bad, really good, really mixed emotions. And then again, like you pour that in with the environment that are all sorts of all mixed up that aren't, as ideal for continuing to like create that environment for winning. And so it's just not designed. There's just a lot of, this is where it kind of gets different, I think. And then as far as changing the gap, I think that across the board, worldwide, at least I see in both athletics, we saw this in the last Olympics with a number of athletes being like, sorry, I'm not going to do that. We've seen this in tennis. Oh, sorry, my mental health is more important. I need to take care of myself. I think that we're starting to see this in the music industry as well, especially since the turn of the pandemic and now everyone's back on the road. We've seen a little bit more of people saying, hey, I wanted to be there, but I can't because I got this going on. And there's more awareness, unfortunately. I think in the music world, we've had a lot of death and destruction and horrible things that have led us in this direction. And that's very sad. And I think that people are starting to see like, okay, wait a minute, my mental health and my physical health and my friends' mental health and their physical health and everybody's mental health, right? That this is important. And like the whole reason we're all doing this in the first place is because it's so healing, it's so powerful. And so I think it's changing. I think our world is overall changing, but I think just the emphasis on mental fitness in athleticism is different. Same thing in business. I will say this too, like about being mentally fit to be really good at business. Same thing. I think it's there. And in other instances, it's not. And so, having that emphasis on that power of winning, of being the best, has a role in helping people to care about their mental health that's a little bit different and a little bit more in the forefront. So we're all starting to catch up, I think.
Yes, and I love how you said that things are changing. It feels like things are changing. I love conversations like this because at least we can take a moment and highlight something that doesn't get the attention that it deserves. So when when you're talking about working with musicians, what are some of take us through an idea of how you prepare to create that, to establish that guidance with, say, a musician or musicians. What are some of the first steps that you find yourself making sure is in place so that you can begin? What are some things that you do to begin working with a musician?
So it depends a little bit. A lot of times, if it's online where I do primarily work, then someone might be coming to me. They already have something going on, and so they're presenting the issue to me. But let's say we're in person, like we're going to be upcoming at a number of festivals in Raleigh, North Carolina for the International Bluegrass Music Association, and at the Baygrass Music Festival in Annapolis, Maryland, and down at S1E in Florida. So sometimes we're just there. We're there to be there, and people are like, what are you doing here? And then, we start telling them. So I think the first thing is that as preparation, if I'm in front of someone who, I might be working with, I am watching them. So I'm looking at someone, and this is happening to me with everybody. I sort of, through training and through years of doing this, I actually really can't help it. I'm noticing someone's posture. I'm noticing how they're moving. And this is a lot of times what I saw from the stage too. You'll see someone be in pain. While they're doing it, they're right there in front of you. You can't miss it. When someone's shaking out their hand or, grabbing their shoulder or whatever it is, and so I think that part of this, and we'll talk a little bit more about being present, right, is actually being present, which is to be in observation, to see what's going on around you and to be aware. And then, I talk about being a dynamic movement expert. So it's not just about static posture, like, oh, you're sitting here, your shoulders up, your shoulders down. But it's like, what are you doing in motion? Are you utilizing your body on the right versus the left? Do you seem to always be leaning one way or the other? Are you curling your head, right? So all of those sorts of things. And then, like if I was doing massage and someone just laid down, they told me nothing, then I might already have an idea what might be what. Again, that's just through years of studying the body, studying anatomy, watching people and listening to people, right? Seeing, observing, and listening. And so that's how I prep, is just to be present and to be there and to be open to what's actually happening in the moment, what that person says, what that person looks like, and how they express themselves.
And I think this is obviously, this creates a good foundation, because it's establishing where they are, what's happening in the now. And then what are some elements that are important for you to touch on as you're guiding someone through your work? What are some key points that you just make sure are addressed in general? And obviously everyone is different, but what's important for you to make sure that they navigate through, so that they are hitting the goals as you're working with them?
Yeah, so I think I really understand that we all live in our bodies. And so to be able to actually be embodied is a really key factor to, one, being in your body, to using it, to moving it, to understanding what's actually happening. And so I use a couple of levels of doing that with people, but I always go first to the breath and helping people to notice what it is that's going on with their breathing, and then to help guide people to understand that they innately have power and ability to shift and move their breath consciously, as well as observe it consciously, and that they can change how they feel in the moment, right, in the present moment, in the now, with just their breath. And then to realize that in order to be breathing requires a whole bunch of use of your body, right? You've got your nose, your mouth, your throat, your lungs internally, but your ribs, the muscles, the tissue around your ribs, your skin, right? All of these things, and that even your pelvis is moving, your whole body is moving and breathing, your heart is beating, circulation is happening. You start to realize that you're a full organism, and that you're actually utilizing your mind and your body in order to breathe, which is to be present in the now. And so then you can start to assess, what am I feeling right now as I'm breathing and in my body? And then we can start to, okay, so you're feeling this. Okay, well then here's a stretch, or here's an exercise, or here's how you can stand, or what you can do to change how that feels. And it's like, okay, well, in the present moment, again, here I am, I can shift how I feel. Just like learning anything, just learning to even be in your body, right, is this whole idea. And if you're using your body as your tool, as your instrument, as your craft, then being in it all the time and understanding how it works is very, very powerful for you to be able to be good at it and to be great at it. And so yeah, so that's how I go, and that's my process. And then then a lot of times the thoughts and the emotions all come out in the process, because as we start to feel things, we might notice that makes us anxious, that makes us nervous, or that makes me feel good, that makes me feel calm, right? And so, okay, why? Okay, well, is it from a fear of this? Is it because this happened in the past? Is it because you saw something you're worried about in the future? Okay, another layer. Where does that come from? Okay, it came from my mom, it came from my experience, it came from so and so, it came from this idea that I've was given to me because I'm a musician, or because I'm an athlete, or because I'm a girl, or because I'm, because. And it's like, is any of that true for you right now? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. And then we can take it that other level. And
that's
so,
important. I want you to hold that thought 1 second. We're going to take a commercial break. We will be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
We're back here on the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. My guest today is Lisa Joy Glassman, musicians, performance coach, and dynamic movement expert. We've been diving into how she integrates the two, sound and motion, and why those are 2 powerful tools that she works with primarily with musicians, but then also, of course, she continues to share and has that overall outreach with those who benefit. So, Lisa, we were talking about your highlighting of breath work and the impact it has. What are some of the takeaways you've noticed others have resulted in from just paying attention to that, with you working with them and then you highlighting the path that they need to be on?
Yeah. So first, I think performance anxiety and nervousness and stress being able to be reduced as a result of understanding how to breathe, this gives you power in the present moment to change how you feel, is one of the top results that I've seen across the board. And it's so important for being able to be on point, right? To be out of your head and into the present moment in order to play music, in order to perform, in order to experience this collective healing that happens. And so I think that's number 1. I think because of the stress of touring, I said about talking about different sleep patterns, like being, playing at night, traveling overnight, just the worry about getting there and all of the many moving parts. A lot of musicians are playing so many more roles in terms of the business of being able to do it than just being an artist and playing. And so being able to manage and control the breath has been very helpful at reducing overall stress, which has increased the ability to sleep, the ability to just be better functioning, and to reduce inflammation. And I think the second thing is uh, in terms of being able to physically open up the front of the body, and to learn that has greatly reduced people's pain that they feel. So understanding, right, when you're playing instruments, and just like all of us, right, most of what's happening in our world is happening here. And so the fronts of our bodies are getting overused through technology. On top of that, right, we're tightening the front of the neck, we're squeezing the chest, our shoulders are rotated forward, and then you add holding instruments and carrying things and driving, and it just increases it. And so through the power of the breath and being able to feel and experience how the body can open up from the inside out, and that you have the ability to expand and stretch the front of the body, that this has helped people to greatly reduce their pain and reduce that stress cycle that comes from having tightness and tension.
So I love this because then these are some practical steps. This allows that elevate that pain that's happening, the experience of pain begins to diminish. And then so say these are things that we just were not used to hearing in general of how we take care of ourselves. So I love how this is getting some interest. What would you say to parents of young children, minors who have taken an interest in music and have picked up an instrument, have shown, have really started to come across that path? What's the best way? What are some best practices to say that young person up for success so that they can optimize just their connection to music?
Yeah, I think that connecting to music again, right? It's got this natural way of helping people be present. It opens up and unlocks the brain. So it's very, very good for your nervous system, which is good for your overall health and well being. So great, encourage it. I think just like best practices is to just not instill your fear and worry about your child's selected career path for the rest of their life, and like try not to put a judgment on how they play or what they're doing, or like if they say they want to be a musician, great, like don't start telling them a lot of negative things about that lifestyle choice, because I think that I've just come across so much instilled, rhetoric about the lifestyle or about being a musician, about what it means. And obviously, we are getting these messages. This is just across the board. This is not just about music, but just, you know, if someone's interested in something, their child, and it brings them joy and happiness and they're into it, then, foster that, like give them that. And if it's active, great. Playing music is active. I think that's great. Um, and I would just say, like, best practices is that know that your child is doing something with their body that's physical, and that they're often doing something that's asymmetrically different. The right side and the left side of their body are starting to be trained differently, which is fine. But maybe their music teachers or educators may not know how this is going to impact their bodies or their minds outside of how great they may be able to play the instrument. So, if that's not incorporated into your child's music education, and it may or may not be, then maybe it would be good to also just make sure that your child is getting like a well-balanced physicality to understand their body, to bring some balance back into their body, especially if they're playing instruments that are very asymmetrical. Like if they're over to one side of the body, require your head to turn, then just know that that's shaping their body, and that's being combined now in our Western world with all of our technological use. So, all of your nerves, except for a few in your face, have to go through the neck. So just having good neck health and good posture, it really is important. And it's important to make that be positive, right? So that your body is a positive thing, and that moving your body is a positive thing. You want to feel good in your body. That's all positive things, not to just like sit up straight. That may feel negative. So just to keep it positive.
I love that because it's, I think that sometimes you hear statements like that out of concern and wanting for just the setup to be good. And so the intentionality obviously is there out of caring, but then, the delivery and the level, how the perception of support may not look the same. So
Totally.
yes, absolutely. We're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We will be right back here on the Health Revolution.
Jeff Pearson here, host of Invisible Condition, where we talk about all the people who are living and thriving with all those conditions that you can't necessarily see from the outside. Join me every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV.
We're back here in the Health Revolution. We've been spending incredible time with Lisa Joy Glassman, musicians, performance coach, and dynamic movement expert. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Active Potential. And let's go ahead and let's bring up her website here. Talk a little bit about what you bring to the table and how people can find you.
Yeah, well, www.activepotential.com. I work with people online a couple of different ways. I have a coaching program called the Presence in Action Program. I have a division for people who are performers and also for fans. And this is where we get into all of that layered approach, starting with where you're at, how to be present, dealing with the breath, looking at your posture, looking at realigning your posture, being able to change your actions, looking at the emotion and mental well-being, and giving you a course of action to change how you feel so that you can be and perform your best. I also have a special musicians membership that people can join. It is mostly on demand, though we do have a monthly meeting where it's all exercises designed to help you on the road. Things that I call it the van companion. So things you can do literally inside a moving vehicle, breathwork techniques, movement techniques to help you feel your best, reduce stress, and then simple practices that you can do inside the green room before you're preparing to perform, and then afterwards to recover. So something you might, again, see a lot in the athletics world, but specifically tailored to musicians to help optimize performance. There's lots of cool things inside there. You get to request content, and then I'll make it just for you, and we share it across the platform for everyone. So want you let you know about that. And then we do on-site events. I am in Jerusalem right now. We just did a couple festivals here, local, and coming back to the States. So if you are coming to the International Bluegrass Music Association Business Conference and World of Bluegrass Festival in Raleigh, we are the health and wellness sponsors there. We have a whole health track full of workshops, breathwork and movement techniques. We're also doing individual postural consultations. So you can come down with your instrument. We'll take a look at that dynamic movement patterns that you're making, help give you some simple steps and tools that you can take with you right away to help you perform better. Then we'll be at the Annapolis Baygrass Festival. I'll be hosting 2 workshops, yoga workshops on the beach where everyone gets to participate, live music, yoga. Like I said, that was part of my original dream here, and we'll be there for the artists as well. So yeah, come on over to activepotential.com. I teach a live class, a chair yoga class every week, which you can come check it out, get a taste for what it's like to start being present, using your body and breath, and deal with like this whole upper area, neck, shoulders, back, and reduce stress and tension that we all have. So that's about it.
Lisa Joy, where can people find you on social media?
Oh my gosh, we're almost everywhere. No, we are on Facebook. I have a special musicians group on there as well. On Instagram, a little bit on TikTok, just starting out, and on LinkedIn. And then you can come to our YouTube channel. I release a free video every week on Fridays. And if you want, you can also just sign up for our newsletter to get the emails about that every week right to your inbox. And yeah, so catch me somewhere in the internet here.
Yes. And so for our viewers, if you're looking to connect with her, and all of her info will be updating on an ongoing basis. If you're catching this on on-demand replay, you can reach her at Lisa Joy Glassman at activepotential.com. And for those of you tuning in, remember, don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the channel that you are tuning into, in the distribution channel. Of course, our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. Feel free to subscribe to that and share any updates on topics that you're interested. And you can tune into show upcoming information. Lisa Joy, it's been incredible to have you here. I know we're running out of time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I had a wonderful time here on your show. Thanks for all your such great questions, and what a wonderful conversation we had.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And for everyone tuning in, don't forget we are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here. The Health Revolution is on the Achieve TV channel on E360 TV. Until next time, take care. See you then.